Hello guys, this is Card Game Theorist and I'm here to talk about the 8 new skills from this new 2-speed dual structure decks. And I'm going to start off with the Yugi skill, Ritual of Black Mastery. So this skill is for Blackluster Soldier and Magician of Black Chaos. So it reads, activate this skill during your main phase, while you control Blackluster Soldier or Magician of Black Chaos that you ritual summon this turn. And then when we activate it, while we control Blackluster Soldier, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's skill. So that's protecting us from 2 skills. It's protecting us from Nightmare Sonic Blast, and it's protecting us from Twisted Nightmare. Also, once per turn, if your opponent controls a trap card, draw 1 card immediately after it resolves. So it doesn't protect us from trap cards, and our opponent controls whether we draw it or not. So I personally think that's not that great of an effect, the first part, but we are going to go on to the second part. So the second part reads, while you control Magician of Black Chaos, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's spell effects. Also, if your Magician of Black Chaos destroys a monster by battle, add 1 spell card from your graveyard to your hand. So that one protects Magician Black Chaos from spell effects, which there's not that many spells that get played, but what gets played as spells, or what has been played as spell removal, is Eradicate and Aerosol. So it protects us from that. It also protects us from the 2 new spells that got introduced in these decks, Offerings to the Doomed and Tribute to the Doomed. So that part of the skill does seem quite good, but ultimately, if this gets through and kills a monster, getting back a spell doesn't seem that good. So each one has like a good effect, but the other, like, it has 1 good and 1 bad for each. So there's not like one monster that's going to be better to summon, and ultimately you're going to be putting in these basically normal monsters with spells that are not going to be doing anything, and probably not so good monsters. So ultimately, I don't think the skill is that good, and I don't think it's going to see any competitive play either now or in the future. I could be wrong. Maybe they bring out some even better support for these cards, but those cards would need to be in the main game itself, and I don't think anything would improve this skill from the main game's card pool. So we have our next skill, which is Knight of Legend, and this was personally, when I first read it, one of my favourite skills. So it reads, activate the skill during your main phase. Each turn, 1 guy the phase knight you normal summon can be summoned without tribute. So it makes this level 7, basically a level 4, 2300, 21 defense, and that's insane stats for a non-tribute in Speed Duel. But obviously there's going to be a downside to this, so I'm going to keep on reading on. While you control a guy the Fierce Knight monster or a guy the Dragon Champion monster, we apply the following skills. If it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage once per turn. If it inflicts battle damage with this skill, draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card. So not only does this 2300 become a level 4, it also gets piercing, and if we do piercing damage, we draw 2 cards and discard a card. That seems silly. It also, the piercing damage also counts for charging Gaia, and this card may not become essentially a level 4 23. Its effect makes it so we can normal summon it as 19. So it's basically level 4 19 21, which is still very, very good. But obviously, as I said, there's going to be a downside, and this last part is the downside. So while we control a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster or Gaia the Dragon Champion monster, we cannot activate set cards in the spell and trap zone. So what this means is that we can't basically put trap cards in our main deck, because we can say play Floodgate Trap Hole and we can set it while we don't have a Gaia, and we can play it. But while we control this guy, while we flip the skill up and we have this guy on the field, we have either guy on the field, we can't activate our Floodgate. But if we don't draw this Gaia and we have this Gaia, we don't have to activate our skill. We can just normal summon Gaia, set Floodgate, and then, because the skill isn't given this the non-tribute, so we don't need to activate it, and then we can Floodgate the opponent's monster, and then if we draw this guy, normal Gaia, we can normal summon him and then pierce through the defense. But ultimately, I don't think we really want to be playing Floodgate, because we're just looking at it from the perfect points, where most of the time we are going to have Gaia on the field and we're not going to be able to activate our trap. But the other traps we could play maybe could be Zuma. So Gaia's not going to be easy to get off the field, but one way easily to get it off the field would be Parasite. So if you don't know what Parasite is, it's an equip that equips to a monster that makes it an insect, and they can use the skill Cocoon of Ultra Evolution to tribute an insect with an equip card, which is your monster, with their Parasite, because it's making your monster an insect, and then they can summon any insect from their deck, ignoring summoning conditions. So they can summon any insect, and then the Parasite can trigger, which then can summon a level 8 or higher insect, ignoring summoning conditions. So they play perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, so they will get it either off the skill, or it'll get summoned from the hand, or you could just drop 2. So you get rid of the Gaia, and then say they summon 1 Moth and they attempt to attack direct for 35. We can activate our Zoma, defend our life points, and then the opponent either has to attack into it and take 35, or they can not attack into it and then give us a chance to maybe draw cards to get rid of the Moth, or we could just crash into their Moth and cause them the 35 damage, and maybe we've caused them 500 or more, or we find the 500 damage and get game off it. We also want to be including quick play cards in our deck, because when we are drawing off the skill, we want to be playing them in the battle phase. So the quick play cards that could be used are, one is Twister. So this will combat that Zoma. It will also combat Metal Reflect Slime. It also combats Spellbound Circle, and the last one it combats Nightmare Wheel. It also can get rid of Mask of the Accursed, and I personally think that Twist is going to be a vital card in this deck. What else? We can also play Offerings to the Doomed. That could be a card that we could also, instead of having the trap, we can set the Offerings to the Doomed. So if they were to parasite the guy away and summon the moth, we can just Offerings it off the field and hopefully get back onto the field next turn and put some pressure on them, since we've just got rid of the moth and that's their biggest monster. And then we will have control of the game because we have the bigger monster. We'll also want to be playing Sphere Grubo in our deck because we can't play any traps while we control Gaia. So we're going to be playing Sphere Grubo, which is also brilliant because it also turns the monster to defense, so we can get that piercing damage in and net some more draws. So personally, I think this skill is going to be top tier. Well, maybe not. Yeah, no, I'm going to say it's going to be top tier, but not the best deck. So I'm going to go on to the next skill because I totally forgot where I was going to go. And the next skill is going to be Thousand Eyes Spell. So this is the Relinquished and Thousand Eyes Restrict skill, and it reads: activate the skill during your main phase. Once per turn, you can discard one card and use one of the following skills, but you cannot conduct your battle phase this turn. So we can ritual summon Relinquish from your hand by tributing a monster from your hand or field whose level is 1 or more, also flip this card over. Or we can fusion summon 1000 and restrict from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material, also flip this card over. So this skill is, it basically turns the card we discard either into Black Illusion Ritual or Polymerization. This skill is very good because due to us summoning our monsters through this skill, our opponent then can't respond with cards that would be able to be activated on the summon of a monster. So we can summon a Relinquished or a Thousand as Restrict, and the opponent cannot respond with Floodgate Trap Hole, which is very good because our deck is a combo deck and we'll be putting multiple cards into one card and we don't want them to Floodgate and stop our combo. Cards that we will want to play with this deck, so I think we'll personally want to be playing both of these. And we'll be one to play it in, like, even though our deck's like a combo deck, we want to be playing it slow and like control-y, and then like in the later turns we want to like pop off and then start like turning our advantage into like big combo pushes that deal like quite a lot of damage. And the cards that will do this is Illusionist Faceless Magician. So this reads: if a face-up as restrict fusion monsters or Relinquish you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from the graveyard if it was there when that monster was destroyed, or hand even if not. And then if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one Eyes Restrict fusion monster or Relinquished in your graveyard and we special summon it. But we can only use each effect once per turn, and I did say each, so you can use both in the same turn. So how I see we play this deck is like we summon either the Relinquished or the Thousand Eyes Restrict, and we contribute, summon or set the Faceless Magician. if we tribute set it, it's quite hard to get over because it has a big 2200 defense. If they do get over it, we can summon Relinquished in defense position if we summon Relinquished. And if they kill Relinquished, we can then summon Magician back. Or if they kill Magician, we can bring back Restrict. And then that stops them from battle. So they would need Offerings to the Doomed, I think, is the only card to then get rid of this, to then bring this back. And then they need another way to get over it, to cut that player off. So the opponent has left us with this on the field. So how we're going to combo with it and like force a lot of damage is we're going to possibly play Wonder Wand. So we play Wonder Wand on this, we sack it off, we swap these for 2 new cards, and then this effect triggers and we get either of these back, and then we absorb their monster, and because we didn't use the skill this turn, we special summon these from the graveyard, we can then turn that into damage. And that is how we're going to like try and win the game, through like a big push like that. Because we've won this off the field, we can like, if we haven't summoned this and we summon Relinquished, we can summon another monster and try and push for like, do like a game push. Also another card that we could play, which combos with the Wonder Wand, is Legion the Fiend Jester. So it reads, during your main phase you contribute summon 1 spellcaster monster in face-up attack position in addition to your normal summon / set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add 1 spellcaster normal monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can only use this effect of Legion once per turn. So we can play this and we can normal summon it and we can tribute it for, what's his name, Illusionist. Now that doesn't seem that great, but ultimately what we really want to be playing this is we want to be activating Wonder Wand on this, and we want to be tributing this, drawing 2, and then this effect triggers and we search Thousand Eyes Idol. Or later in the game we can tribute this off and we can recover this from the graveyard, and this is going to help us get to our Thousand Eyes Restrict. What else? It's something about this. I totally forgot what I was about to say, which is great. So these are like the cards that I think will see play in the deck. Oh yeah, that was it. So we can normal summon this and we can tribute this for the skill. So we can discard, tribute this for the skill and summon Relinquished, and then we can recover 1,000 Eyes. So if they don't get rid of Relinquished in the next turn, when it comes to our next turn, we can then we can discard the cards that we draw and we can fusion summon into the Restrict. And that's why I think it's going to be like a slow game, like a slow deck. Once it like starts setting up, but then once it's set up and it's got everything going, it'll have like very big turns where it'll just cause like a lot of damage. And I personally think that this deck is going to be like a top tier deck. It'll be like up there with Gaia. Maybe not like the best top tier deck, but like a very top tier deck. So the next skill is Toon Mayhem, and that skill reads, The first time each Toon World in your spell and trap zone would be destroyed each turn, it is not destroyed. So this skill is not really that good. What it does is good, but ultimately you still have to play Toon World in your deck, whereas the original Toon World skill you didn't. But it does protect it, and once it's activated, it's probably going to stay on the field. But when you play it Toon World, you're going to lose 1,000 life points. So you're starting the game with 3,000 life points, and starting the game with 3,000 life points is suicidal against like Moth decks. So ultimately, Moth is going to keep this skill from being like playable, and obviously that's going to be a theme with a few of the skills. But Toons did get quite a few good cards. It's just a shame that the skill didn't give them enough for them to be like middle tier. So the next skill is Bakura, and it is Into the Darkness Below. This reads: activate the skill during your main phase. Once per turn, you can discard one normal fiend monster, then use one of the following skills. So we can discard the fiend to draw one card, or we can discard the fiend, and if we have 4 or more fiend normal monsters with different names, we can add one monster from our deck to our hand. So I think this skill is not that great right now, but in the future of the game, this could be a very good skill. Being able to search a monster from our deck, it could be very good. The cards that we want to be searching are going to be cards that are classed as bombs, and what I mean by that is a card that when we play is going to like win us the game. It's going to throw the tempo in so much in our favor. It's going to turn the tides of the game. An example of a card like that is Gravekeeper's Oracle. Against the decks that's set, we can just tribute, summon, and destroy all, get rid of all the monsters, and then be able to have like a 2k or decrease all their monsters by minus 2k. That's like, it's one of the most insane monsters in Speed Duel, effect wise. But we won't be playing him in this deck because Fiends and Gravekeepers have no synergy whatsoever. But the good Fiends that we do have are Gilgarth, 1812, very good stats. Whiptail Crow, 1650, 1600 are also very good stats. We also have Ray Kishin Powered, 1612 is not amazing stats, but 16 still relevant. And then, so like these, we probably may want to play multiple of. This is probably a 3 of. These may be like 2 ofs. Melhood, he doesn't have any good stats. Either attack or defense, they're both very weak. So if we were to play Melhood, it's probably only going to be like 1 copy. Headless Knight, 1450 attack isn't that great, but 1700 defense is reasonable. We may play 1 or 2 copies of him. The Gross Ghost of Fled Dreams, 1300 attack, not great. 1800 defense is quite good. Defends against Gearfried and all those other monsters. does lose to Blade Knight, which get if the opponent has one card in hand, but that's just about it. And then the last one is Earthbound Spirit. He isn't going to be an attacker, he's just going to be a blocker, 2k defense. He's probably only going to be ran as one. So most of these are darks. So because we got a lot of darkness, we could also play multiple of darks and then banish obviously the bad ones, but make sure that we still have access to four different names so we can get our search. The cards that we could search in this card pool is probably Lava Golem. Getting a Lava Golem like every turn could be quite insane, because they'll like stop the opponent from committing to the board. And as long as we can stop Lava Golem from attacking us, it's going to be dealing them damage every turn. So if they don't get rid of the Lava Golem, then if they were to commit another monster on the field, we can just get rid of their other monster, summon another Lava Golem and defend against that. If they do get rid of the Lava Golem, then you can't really put two monsters on the field because we're going to drop another Lava Golem on them. And then the other card that we could play is Dark Necrophilia, which that's only going to be a one-time thing because we're going to have to be banishing 3 fiends, so that's going to take the 4 name count out of our graveyard. It does have a half decent effect, but it's ultimately going to get destroyed, and personally I don't think it's going to be that great of a card for the deck. So I think that this is going to be a skill that's not going to be played right now, but we have to watch out for very broken monsters that may come into the game and be used with this to search. Next skill is Inner Conflict, and this reads, activate the skill during your main phase. Once per duel, you can pay half your life points and take control of one monster your opponent controls until the end phase, but it cannot attack directly this turn. So this skill was based on Change of Heart, because he used that. I think he used that in the anime when he was in the Shadow Games. In the Shadow Realm, in that episode where Taya was Magician of Faith. Can't remember what Joey was, and Tristan was Cyber Commander. But getting back to the skill, so it's a Change of Heart, but we can't attack the opponent direct, but we can attack their other monster. So say they have, for example, Moth and Manita Bug, both in an attack position. You play the skill, pay half your life, take the Moth, and attempt to attack Manita Bug for over 3k damage, so that could potentially be game. The only reason you'd probably use that skill in that circumstance is going for game. Or we can use it for taking their monster and then tributing their monster for a tribute monster. So it's kind of like a removal card. So we can remove threats off their board, but we can also use it to, like, say they're defending with like face down monsters and we already have like 1 or 2 monsters, we can just use it to take that monster and then push direct for game with the others. We can also have like one monster, take their monster and then tribute for a monster and go for game. And there's a few good tribute monsters in the decks. One is Dark Ruler Hades, the other is Garp, and then the one I think that may see play with this skill but it's not in the decks, is Dark Red Enchanter. So we take the opponent's monster, we tribute it for Dark Red, and we can then take a card from the hand. So if anybody played like old Yu-Gi-Oh, like back in like 2006 onwards and that, there's no like Monarch decks like where you like soul exchange the monster and tributed for Thestalos. That's kind of like the theory of it. Just take the monster, tribute, and take a card from hand, and then just push a lot of damage. But obviously we're paying half our life points, so we don't really be either want to use this as like a last ditch, or we're going to be doing this for going the game. Also, this has could be side decked in a Gravekeeper mirror match, because you can take the Gravekeeper monsters and tribute for Oracle and like swing the game that way. Also, by taking their recruiter and getting rid of it, you cut them off from the search. And that could turn the game by cutting them off from the search. If they don't have access to rights, then you're cutting the monsters, like the constant monsters getting onto the field, and then if like they don't get to a monster, then then you've got to answer the Oracle with other cards, and the Oracle then gets rid of other cards, and just taking cards away from them, and you're just netting a lot of cards because you took their monster, you change your heart to their monster and cut them off. So ultimately, if it's going to see any play, it's going to be either be played with Dark Red in like a main deck, or it's going to be sided in a Gravekeeper deck. The next skill is Shadow Reborn. So this reads, activate the skill during your main phase. Once per duel, you can pay half your life points to special summon one monster from either graveyard, but your opponent takes no battle damage this turn. So this is Monster Reborn, but your opponent doesn't take battle damage, so it can't be used as like what in a conflict was, where we can't just activate it and try and OTK our opponent. What we can do though is activate it and try and get hold of the board and take control of it. This is also another good card for Gravekeeper, because we can combo it by taking, like in a meta match, taking their Gravekeeper and tributing for Oracle, or we can play like Gravekeeper's Chief and reborn. If we don't have access to right, we can reborn our own Gravekeeper and then tribute it for Chief and be able to summon it. Do I think Chief's good enough? Not really, but maybe this skill becomes better in the future. But ultimately, I don't think this is as good as in a conflict. And then the last skill is Twisted Personality, and this is probably the best skill of the 8. So it reads, each time a player loses life points, place one counter on this card, maximum 3. Once per turn during your main phase, you can use one of the following skills. So we can remove 2 counters from this card and discard 1 random card your opponent controls from your opponent's hand. And then the second one is we remove 3 counters from this card, then destroy 1 face-up card your opponent controls. So this skill can be played in any deck, because what my trail of thought has gone. your opponent wants to kill you and you want to kill your opponent, so each player is going to be taking life points, so this card is going to be generating counters. So it could be played in almost in any deck, except for a math deck or like a combo deck, like Serpent Knight. It could be played in a burn deck, because there's not... The biggest burn is Lava Golem, which is 1,000, and the rest are like small burns, like Nightmare Wheels, like 500. So this is going to gain many counters off that, and then your opponent's going to be attacking you, giving you more counters. So you can use your what's the term? We can use our burn and turn it into removal for our opponent and get even more damage in with like attacks. Or we can play it in Gravekeeper, and we can play like Gravekeeper's Curse, and by summoning that we get a counter. So for example, we could go first, we can normal summon Curse, we can deal them 500, gain a counter. Then when they attack Curse, they give us a counter. And then if we can revive the Curse or normal summon Curse, we get a third counter. We then remove the 3 counters to get rid of their monster, and then we can attack direct for the 800 attack. They either have to waste the card protecting themselves from the 800, or the 800 goes through and then gives us another counter. So I think that could be quite a very good deck with this skill. I think that this skill could be side decked against like burn decks. So if you were to play like a different skill, and if you have like a bad matchup against burn, you could side this in, because this card combats Nightmare Wheel. It also combats Zoma. Unfortunately, you can't kill the Lava Golem if they give you a Lava Golem, which is a shame. But this is the best skill in the decks, and this is like going to see quite a lot of play, and it may knock Moth off being the best deck. It may not, but it'll either knock it off or it'll be shortly behind it. It's that good of a skill. So that's the end of that, and I'm thankful for people watching this video. Please comment, because this is my first video, and try and give me a bit of advice. I'll take it on board, and hopefully my videos become a lot more better through your advice. And please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button, and hopefully I will see you soon. And this is Card Game Theorist out.